dead.
Welcome back to Ghost Pirate Entertainment. I'm your host, Kanan Becker, and today we talk about 10 more horror movies that I highly recommend. And with that, let's get to the list.
What do you want from me?
Rosario is a 2025 horror movie, directed by Felipe Vargas in his feature directorial debut. It stars Emerald Tubia, David Dismalchin, and Paul Ben-Victor. Rosario spends the night with her recently deceased grandmother's body while she waits for the ambulance to arrive. But soon she is attacked by otherworldly entities that have taken control of her grandmother's body. So I'm really excited about this entire list. There's a lot of fun movies on here, ones that I highly recommend for different reasons. But this one, to kick it off, really represents what I'm talking about because this is a movie that is fun. It's campy. It's got a lot of silliness in it, over the top. Everything is turned up to level 11. And that's just not something everybody's into, but it has a feel of like an Evil Dead to it, where it's not necessarily meant to be comedy, but there is an element of humor in it because of everything just being so exaggerated, just everything turned up. But it gets gory, it gets gross. There's definitely some bodily fluid stuff going on. There's blood, there's guts, there's really crazy, witchy, evil, kinds of props and atmosphere. It's just witchy as hell. But one of the things that impressed me the most about this movie was the prop department, what they did, just the set, but all the little knickknacks, all the little witchy, creepy, evil things that are crammed into this movie. It's like every turn there's another really awesome B-roll of some creepy as hell thing. But this is a very Hispanic movie, and I really appreciated that, really enjoyed that. You could feel it from every fiber of it. Yet at the same time, it's an American Hispanic movie. So it has that lineage and that history and culture and all that from Mexico, from South America, from the different Hispanic regions of the world, but it also feels very American. And I really appreciated that. I really enjoyed that because most of the time you'll get either a movie from Mexico or from South America or Spain or any of the Spanish speaking countries, and they'll go into that lore. They'll take a deep dive into the culture, all those different foreign beliefs and all that. And I love those movies. They're great, but they won't have any kind of an American feel to it. But this movie is great because it really is through the eyes of people that have come here from other countries, from Hispanic people that have come here for different reasons at one point or another. And it delves into that without feeling heavy-handed, but it definitely touches on that stuff, and I think did a great job of doing that as well. But I wasn't familiar with Emerald Tubia. I'm sure I'm butchering that name, and I apologize, but I wasn't familiar with her at all prior to seeing this. But first off, she is just drop dead gorgeous. But second of all, she gives a damn good performance here and really leans into the different crazy situations and stuff that she has to deal with. I also really like that this movie is immediately you're put into this world where supernatural stuff just exists and you're just going with it. It immediately says, hey, you got to suspend your disbelief and just roll with the punches, just go into this and enjoy it. So I had an absolutely great time with this, but it's only in theaters for now. So if you get a chance to go out and support this little movie, definitely do it. Either way, I'm sure it'll be streaming in not too long, but it's one that no matter what, you should definitely keep an eye out for.
Smiled and said, "Dipping skinny."
Strange Days is a 1995 sci-fi thriller, directed by Catherine Bigelow and written by James Cameron. It stars Ralph Fiennes, Angela Bassett, and Juliette Lewis. A former cop turned street hustler accidentally uncovers a conspiracy in Los Angeles in 1999.
You don't know how high up the food chain this thing goes.
Do you know what this tape could do if it got out? I see the world opening up and swallowing us all.
So I remember when this movie came out. I remember going to see it in a theater, and I do remember loving this movie at the time. But then it just kind of was lost. And it was one of those ones that every now and then I would think about, but I couldn't quite place what the name of the movie was or who was in it. I just remember thinking that there was this late 90s sci-fi thriller that I absolutely loved. And so on my last video, I talked about Stigmata, and it made me think about Strange Days and just movies from that era. And so I started looking into it, and I finally came across this movie. And when you know it, it's been on Hulu. I don't know how long, but it's right there. And it's like, I had no idea, but so I immediately rewatched it this morning, and God, is this movie so good. How have we forgotten this movie? I don't ever hear it mentioned. And this is one of the best from this era, and actually still really, really holds up. For one, it's an incredible cast. I mean, everybody in this. I mean, it has Angela Bassett and Ralph Fiennes teaming up in it. I mean, that's incredible in itself. But the rest of the cast is stacked as well, and Juliette Lewis is as gorgeous as she ever was in this movie. I mean, holy hell, she is smoking hot in this. But it's so colorful, it's grimy, it's so dirty and edgy. It's got a lot of cool ideas, futuristic elements, while still being this nostalgic, old school time period. Like, for instance, they didn't have cell phones, so they're still calling each other on landlines, while at the same time having this weird headset thing where they can record their memories and things that they see. I mean, that's where this movie lives, and it's fantastic. But beyond all that, the stuff that this movie talks about, the things that it focuses on, and what the real core of what this movie is trying to address is still just as prevalent and important as we've ever had it. I mean, it's very, very relevant today. So it's a movie that if you're from my age group, you're gonna feel very nostalgic and enjoy it on those levels. But if you're younger, it doesn't matter. This movie will still impress you, and I guarantee you'll still have a good time with it. But I could talk about this movie all day long. I had such a great time with it, and I will never forget this movie or the title of it ever again. So if you have yet to see this, or if it's been a long time, definitely rush over to Hulu and check out Strange Days. The Shrouds is a 2024 French-Canadian body horror drama, written and directed by David Cronenberg. It stars Vincent Cassel, Diane Kruger, and Guy Pearce. An innovative businessman and grieving widower builds a device to connect with the dead inside of a burial shroud.
It's basically a kind of camera in her grave.
Don't you find it hard to take? It comforts me. It's like she's floating in outer space.
I'm a huge fan of David Cronenberg's work, and more as time goes by, the more I appreciate horror, but just film in general, the more I appreciate his work. I also really enjoy his son Brandon Cronenberg's work over the last number of years as well. But there's just no one that deals with body horror and has more powerful, important concepts and messages to get across than David Cronenberg. And the ideas presented here, the concepts and things that this movie talks about and focuses on are really powerful, but it's also a really sad and tragic movie. I've heard that he came up with the idea for this movie while dealing with the loss of his wife, and you can very much feel the sadness, the grief, all of that in this film. It's also really well performed by Vincent Cassel. He is your main focus, the figure that through the entire movie you follow around. And you can really feel that this is a placeholder for David Cronenberg. But it gets really dark, disturbing, very uncomfortable and creepy. I mean, just the whole ideas of you having this camera, so to speak, that just continually watches over your loved one as they slowly decay in their coffin. It's just horrifying in this realistic, sad, morose way. But there's also a beauty in it, and the way that it's told, the way it's presented, just everything involved. You could tell that David Cronenberg didn't want to just make this garish movie, and he tried his best to handle this with care and kind of give an element of romance to the whole idea here. And so those elements about this movie I thought work really well and were very captivating and interesting. Where this movie did lose me some, though, is kind of in that middle act where it kind of goes into this computer hacking, espionage, kind of stuff that felt a little bit convoluted, a little bit slow, and lost my attention just a little bit. So is this one of his best? Definitely not. But I still think, especially if you're a fan of Cronenberg, there is a lot here that is definitely worth seeing.
What is that?
Until Dawn is a 2025 survival horror movie. Directed by David F. Sandberg, it stars Ella Rubin, Maya Mitchell, and Peter Stormare. A group of friends trapped in a time loop where mysterious foes chase and kill them in gruesome ways must survive until dawn to escape.
I'm just gonna grab it. Okay. Don't move.
Yeah. Oh, what? Is it gone?
Yeah, it's gone.
What? It's still in my face.
So this is another one that's definitely not for everyone, by no means, because it's a movie that has some plot holes, has some issues with the writing, the dialogue, stuff like that. It's not the best written movie ever. So if you're someone that is big time into that kind of element, this is something that may not work for you. But if you're someone that can enjoy a popcorn horror movie, someone that enjoys all the different monsters, and really it feels like you're walking through a haunted house for 90 minutes. It really does. And personally, I had a blast with this movie. I pretty quickly on realized like, hey, this is not going to be anything I could take serious. This is not going to be something that I'm going to dissect the performances of the actors or of the writing or any of that kind of stuff. This is really like walking through a horror attraction at Fright Nights during Halloween. I think this movie is one that will be really fun for the Halloween season. I thought the props, the set design, the different creative masks and monsters and ghosts, and all the different creepy figures that they throw at them, I think they all look great and are well performed on that level as well. And so for a popcorn horror movie, this is one of the better ones that we've seen in a minute, because like last year you had Night Swim and Imaginary and a number of other ones that were supposed to just be that popcorn kind of horror movie, but instead were just boring and dull and didn't have anything interesting story-wise, but also didn't throw anything creative or interesting monster-wise and set design and mood and that kind of thing either. So they were just pointless kind of movies. But I can really get down with a popcorn horror movie, especially if pretty quickly on it lets you know what it is. And it leans into that. It doesn't try to take itself too serious. Instead, it just throws lots of monsters and lots of fun jump scares and things like that. I definitely have a good time with it. So if you're looking for something to just have fun with, maybe go out with some friends, this is a fun one. It's in theaters right now, but I'm sure it won't be too long before it's streaming. Either way, if what I said about this piqued your interest, it's one you definitely should keep an eye out for.
Just smiled and said, dipping skinny.
Speak No Evil is a 2024 psychological horror movie. Directed by James Watkins, it's a remake of the 2022 Danish film of the same name, and stars James McAvoy, Mackenzie Davis, and Aisling Francosi. It's about a family who's invited to spend the weekend at an idyllic country house, and what begins as a dream vacation turns into a psychological nightmare.
You have to come and visit.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah? Yeah. Done.
It's so quiet around here. Don't even have any neighbors.
Hey, you made it.
Welcome.
I've talked about this a few times over the last year since it came out. The main reason I'm bringing it up now is that if you have a Prime membership, it's free on the platform now. And so I'm guessing that just gives a lot more people a chance to check this out. A lot less risk involved. You're not having to spend money to rent it or go to a theater or anything like that. And I know that anytime there's an American remake, most people, including myself, we're skeptical. And a lot of times we just kind of hate it because there is something very bothersome about taking this masterpiece from another country and trying to make some dumb American remake of it. And I'm not saying I give this movie a pass for that either, but I do think if you haven't seen this. There's enough difference here. They do enough changes with the story and the acting and all of that I still think this movie is worth giving a shot. Because something that's really surprised me is how many people I have heard say that they appreciate the American remake more. And it surprises me, but I also get it. Because this movie isn't as dour, it isn't as cold and bleak as that original movie, which is what I really appreciate and personally think makes that a better film. But there's still a lot here, and I think it's more fun. And that's kind of, I think, where a lot of people prefer this, is because it's a more fun horror movie. There's more fun jump scares. There's, you know, something to kind of root for and stuff like that. Whereas that original one, there's nothing to root for. There's nothing fun about that movie. Either way, I just look at it as I feel like there's a space in the world for both these movies. So if for whatever reason you have yet to see this one, I think it's a great time to check it out while it's on Prime. Antrum is a 2018 Canadian horror movie, written and directed by David Amito and Michael Lacini. It stars Nicole Tompkins, Rowan Smith, and Perluca Aruncio. A young boy and his older sister enter the forest to dig a hole to hell. Said to be a cursed film from the late 1970s, Antrum examines the horrifying power of storytelling.
The deeper we dig, the more the forest around us becomes darker.
I have heard of this movie for many, many years and just never checked it out for whatever reason. For one, I don't remember ever hearing anybody raving about it, so it wasn't like it was a must-watch per se. But then recently, one of the biggest supporters of the channel, Leslie, has been bugging me like crazy saying, hey, you need to check out Antrum. And I'm really glad I did. I'm so thankful for her recommending it because it really is a damn good little movie. And even though I do find the setup of this to be a little bit campy, like the idea of this being the most cursed film that you're about to watch, like the way they set that up in the beginning, it's a little campy, a little cheesy, but it also kind of reminds me of those old movies from the late 50s and 60s. Movies like The Tingler, movies that William Castle became very famous for doing these different stunts to help promote his movie. And so it had a little bit of feel of that to me. So even though I do think it is a little cheesy, I still had fun with that. But where this movie really is worth seeing is the meat of it, the actual movie that is supposed to be cursed, that's basically the majority of the runtime in this, because it's really creepy. The whole thing is done to feel and look like a movie from the 1970s. And they did a great job of that because it really does look and feel like one. It is a slow burn that builds the dread and slowly but surely kind of pulls you down into this narrative. But when you get to like the meat of the situation, it gets really uncomfortable and really dark and creepy to me. Like there's a couple scenes in particular that just made me feel dirty and like I needed to take a shower. It's the scene with the guy that's in his underwear. That's all I'll say about it. But when you see that scene, you'll know what I'm talking about. There's just a haunting feel about this movie. Now, I'm not saying it's a game changer. I'm not saying it's gonna scare the crap out of you. I'm not saying it is the scariest movie ever made or any of the things that this movie has been promoted as. But I do think for a small indie slow burn kind of horror movie that is full of atmosphere and dread and just that witchy, creepy, evil vibe, this is a really fun one.
Don't let them bury me. I'm not dead.
The Serpent and the Rainbow.
The Serpent and the Rainbow is a 1988 horror movie. Directed by Wes Craven, it stars Bill Pullman, Kathy Tyson, and Zakes Moquet. An anthropologist goes to Haiti after hearing rumors about a drug used by black magic practitioners to turn people into zombies.
There's a door to the mystical.
And you just walk through it.
Somebody brought him back from the grave. And I want to know how they did it.
This is for sure one of my favorite 1980s movies. Every time I see it streaming on a platform, I recommend it because I will never believe that enough people have seen this. It's amazing to me that it's a Wes Craven movie with a great cast and yet is still very much undiscovered. Like it really doesn't have the following that it deserves. Now, yeah, it doesn't have Freddy Krueger. It doesn't have hot teenagers running around. It doesn't have those elements of other Wes Craven movies that help to make them famous. But the story here, the look, the atmosphere, for one, it's based on real stories. It's based on some real situations that is a fun rabbit hole in and of itself if you go down. But beyond that, it's just the characters in this, the way it slowly but surely gets more and more intense, more and more creepy and disturbing. And there's an element that feels real because it's based on true events. It just makes it feel like something that could actually happen. Bill Pullman is also just fantastic in this, does an amazing performance, and has to do so many different things, but really leans into it. So if you're one of those out there that have yet to see Serpent and the Rainbow, do yourself a favor and make this the next thing that you watch.
Smiled and said,
Dipping skinny.
Under a blanket of blue.
The Innkeepers is a 2011 supernatural horror movie, written, directed, and edited by Ty West. It stars Sarah Paxton, Pat Healy, and Kelly McGillis. The story follows two employees of the Yankee Peddler Inn during its last weekend of operation, who attempt to document the supernatural activity in the building.
Since the hotel is practically empty, we might have a good chance of making some real contact.
What was that?
It's so exciting to me that people know who Ty West is now, because I've been a big fan of his for quite a long time, and this is one of his earlier ones. Just like in the last video, I talked about one of his other older movies, House of the Devil. They're just fun movies, well-made movies that he did before he was really known. And this is a small movie, very indie style. There's not a ton to it, but it's creepy. And if you're someone that enjoys haunted house, supernatural, small kind of film, this is one to definitely put on your list.
listen, Valves.
So, how's this date going?
Drop is a 2025 thriller directed by Christopher Landon. It stars Megan Fahey, Brandon Sklenar, and Violet Bean. A widowed mother's first date in years takes a terrifying turn when she's bombarded with anonymous threatening messages on her phone during their upscale dinner.
Are you okay?
Somebody sent me this.
It's just dumb kids trying to mess with you.
So I'm going to be totally upfront with you before I really get into this. This is not a movie I was as high on as a lot of people have been. A lot of people were more forgiving with it and had more fun with it than I did. But that being said, I still think this is a good movie, and especially for the right audience. Like I've talked about in a few of these, for the right audience, I think this will be a banger for you. It just felt like a movie I'd seen before. It just felt like a lot of other thrillers, psychological thrillers that are on this level where it just didn't quite go hard enough for me, and I had to suspend belief a little bit too much, and there were a lot of conveniences and things to do with the writing that I didn't feel quite worked as well as I wish they had of. But it's a gorgeously shot movie, a well-performed movie by this cast. Everything else about it, the directing, the pacing, it is an entertaining, exciting, intense little movie. So I can definitely see why a lot of people have been really enjoying this. But now that it's available streaming, yeah, it's still $19.99, but it won't be too long before that price does come down quite a bit. But I think because it's streaming now, you can go in with the right expectations. Just keep your expectations in check, and I think you really could have a good time with it.
Oh.
Poor Things is a 2023 sci-fi black comedy directed by Yorgos Lanthimos. It stars Emma Stone, Mark Ruffalo, and William Dafoe. It's an incredible tale about the evolution of Bella Baxter, a young woman brought back to life by a brilliant and unorthodox scientist.
Or it is a happy tale.
I am Bella Baxter, and there is a world to enjoy. Circumnavigate.
This is such a great movie, but I haven't covered it a lot because it's not really technically a horror movie. but there's plenty of horror elements in it, and it's very much a black, twisted comedy. So I'm pretty confident that most horror fans would still appreciate this and enjoy it. For one, it's a gorgeous movie. I mean, the look of it, the style of it, it just literally is dripping in style. Just the color grade, the choices of set, costume design, everything in this is incredibly well put together. It's like funny, but at the same time uncomfortable and creepy and disturbing. It just is a really great mashup of all those things. And now that if you have a Prime membership, it's free to stream, it's as good of a time as there has ever been to check this little gem out. Because I know it got a lot of buzz, there are a lot of Academy Award nominations and won awards for all these different things. But I also know the horror audience, and a lot of you out there, I am guessing, thought this just wasn't going to be your cup of tea for whatever reason. Because I know not a lot of people went to see this. But I think now that it's available to stream without a lot of commitment, you don't have to spend any extra money if you have a Prime membership, I think now is a perfect time for you to give it a chance. And I just think it's a perfect pick for this Saturday night. So do yourself a favor this weekend, pick one of the movies off of this list, grab your popcorn and your candy, and enjoy! And I want to give a huge, massive, enormous thank you to the Ghost Pirate crew, to you guys over on Patreon, and to the channel members over here. You guys mean so much to me. And if you would like to help support this channel, over on Patreon, there's a link down in the description, or you can become a channel member by clicking on that join button down there and help support the channel that way. But like always, thank you so much for watching. Please crush that like button, and remember guys, horror can be fun. And if you enjoyed this, click right here to watch me talk about 10 horror movies that I think are fantastic over on Netflix. And I'll see you guys next time.